This is Portside Perspectives, exploring the yacht economy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today I'm speaking with Mike Scalisi. Did I pronounce that right, Mike?
Yep, Scalisi.
Okay, well, at least it was very close, if not bang on, anyway. Mike is with HMY Yachts and has been voted the best yacht broker in Fort Lauderdale by Fort Lauderdale Magazine. Years 2020 through 2024. Are you hoping for 2025 as well, or?
Actually, I believe I was unseated this past.
So King knocked off of his chair, has he?
I'll make sure my campaign goes a little bit better next season.
Okay. Well, you did it. You did a solid job of nailing it 5 years in a row, anyways. So it's nice to have you, Mike. I appreciate you being here and spending some time with me here to have a chat about whatever we end up getting into here. So why don't you first off tell me who you are, how you got into this business. Give me your origin story, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, neat. So I grew up in Massachusetts. I grew up in my parents' boatyard. So I'm a boatyard kid. My father bought a kind of broken down old Northeast boatyard in the early 80s. So true family boatyard business, house on property, work comes home, home comes to work. You grow up sanding boat bottoms and, fixing outboards, and, you kind of see and do everything and make your bones in that little boatyard environment, which was neat. It's a cool way to grow up. Learned a ton. Family still owns the yard to this day. My younger brother runs the show.
Cool.
Scalisi Marine in Weymouth, Massachusetts. Great family, great childhood growing up in that environment. I decided to kind of do my own thing a little bit. I ended up going to college, getting a captain's license as what was basically my backup plan at that time. Graduated from University of Rhode Island with a degree in marine affairs and marine resource development. And one of my college buddies, I'm a fisherman, love to fish. So one of my college buddies, we would talk about fishing all the time. And, when he graduates, he's going to move down to Florida and, marlin fish and become a professional fisherman down there, because he was already a charter fisherman in the summers on Cape Cod. So I said, man, I'm in, like, let's do it together. And we graduated, no place to live, no job, didn't know a soul. $500 in my pocket, an old beat up Mercury Cougar, glad trash bag full of clothes, and a 19-inch Zenith TV that weighed about 400 pounds in my back seat, and drove to Fort Lauderdale and never looked back. Got a job washing boats at a yacht dealership. Kind of kept my ears open and mouth shut for a while. And it was crazy because, you think I was planning to use my degree. I thought I was going to work for, either in Massachusetts for like Massport, or I did some work for the EPA. I had some experience working for different marine environmental companies. So, I'm thinking my degree or piece of paper is going to get me in somewhere that'll stick year round in Florida, which I couldn't get to stick in Massachusetts.
Right.
But then I saw the boats, and then I saw the yachts, and down here, it's like, it seemed like at the time there was $1 million boat behind every house, which is still true to this day. It's crazy. And I said, oh man. And I would talk to the guys at the yacht dealership. So my job was to wash the boats. I was washing the boats in the showroom, washing the bird poop off the boats, and dreaming about fishing and, traveling. And one of the guys that worked there was like, oh man, you should talk to my buddy. He's a private yacht captain on like 100-foot yacht, and he fishes. So I ended up talking with that captain, jumping into the private game as a greenhorn mate on a 100-foot Westport. You know, they also had a 46-foot Merit that they were refitting as their sport fish boat. So it was a crazy program. Private, no charter, family style. Disappeared down the Caribbean and the Bahamas for like 2 years. Brought the Merit over to the Bahamas. Marlin fished on the professional marlin circuit. Now I wasn't working on the fishing boat. I was on the motor yacht. So every morning when I was chamoising the boat off, and you know, those guys would leave to go fish for like in $1 million marlin tournament, and it was just so crazy painful for me to watch every day. So eventually we joined in some of the fishing activities, like just keep your mouth shut and stay out of the way type deal. But learned a lot. Let's see. So, geez, after that was a couple years, and then I wanted to kind of do my own thing, and I got a job with Lair Yachts as their fleet captain. So based out of Tampa, Florida, they were coming out with a new 80-foot motor yacht, and I was going to be like the live aboard captain, hire a stewardess, do all the R&D and sea trials with the engine guys and everybody, and showcase the boat at all the major boat shows for the next year. So that opened up a lot of doors. It was
I imagine you built a pretty big network just doing that alone.
huge. It was a huge break for my career. I wasn't fishing, but you know, running an 80-footer for a prestigious third-generation family-owned American-built.
That's still pretty fun.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So that experience with Lair, I was involved in the sales process quite a bit, because at that time we're doing, you know, offshore closings, and I'm doing all the sea trials for the brokers to sell new boats off of this demo boat that I'm running. So just heavily involved in the sales process, and you know, I came to like a fork in the road where it was like, all right, what are you going to do? Do you want to run big private yachts? And sales was a path that opened up, and you know, through my, you know, kind of Northeast work ethic, and you know what I had, the connections I had made in the past. I took a sales position with MarineMax, actually, working on a Pier 66, selling Hatteras. So obviously selling premium brand. They had an 80-foot motor yacht. They wanted me to sell that brand, and then they took on Cabo. So if you're familiar with Cabo Yachts, I had an amazing sport fish brand then, and yeah, got my feet wet with MarineMax, selling boats for 5 or 6 years with them. And then the next phase of my career was, you know, to step up the sales game. Recruited by HMY. The Hatteras program was kind of floundering. The brand was struggling. And HMY brought me on board to sell, instead of Hatteras and Cabo, Tierra and Viking. So that was 2013. I've been with HMY ever since. You know, family-owned company. It just felt good. And it's been you know, an amazing kind of 20-year run here.
It sounds like you've been doing really well with them, seeing as how you know, like we were talking about earlier, voted best yacht broker in Fort Lauderdale. So I assume your currently your career is doing well, and sales are up, but maybe we can crack into that now. Now that we've kind of got a little bit about where you came from, why don't we talk about where you're at currently? What's happening in your world as of right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting time, you know, in sales. You know, it's a tough environment. You know, there's no weekly paycheck. You eat what you kill. So, and your reputation is everything. The background I have and the work ethic that I brought south with me enabled me to, you know, carve out a pretty good niche early. And you know, I get a ton of referrals, and have been doing it so long now that you weather the ups and downs in sales, and you kind of, the peaks and valleys kind of even out a little bit over time.
Mm-hmm.
You give it enough time, and you know, it's not for everyone, that's for sure. but it can be a very rewarding career. It keeps me on the water,
Yeah.
keeps doing what I love to do. I meet amazing people and have amazing experiences that a lot of people wouldn't really know about or think to be possible. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get you 100%. I look at it as, I mean, that's kind of what brought me into this podcast. I want to speak to people like yourself, but I mean, I find any aspect of this industry fascinating. I mean, I would love to be a bigger part of it in any number of ways, even if it meant me, rooting around down in an engine room, tinkering with motors and stuff. I mean, it's still cool to be on these vessels. Some of them are just so big and beautiful and designed and engineered so well. It's just, again, we talked about it before we started recording, just how much we both got the bug of just falling in love with boats of all sizes, from like little tinners to big mega yachts, right? And it's cool that you actually have an opportunity to build a career around this industry and be a part of it. And we was talking with couple people in earlier this week about how the yacht industry is basically an economy all of its own. Like it is, you have the automotive industry, but the yachting industry is it's so much more different in that you know, trucks only get so big. And the automotive industry is it's its own thing. I get it, but when it comes to yachts and going from as small as they are to as big as they can get, from building to sales to service to crewing to on and on and on and on, it is an economy all of its own. And maybe you can touch on that. What's your thoughts on that comment I just made?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. It's an industry unlike any other. Um, when people say, "Oh, those rich people with the yachts," and what they fail to understand and recognize is let's take a big yacht, for like 100-foot yacht, which in Fort Lauderdale isn't even really that big anymore, which seems crazy.
It does seem crazy, but yeah, go on.
$10 million 100-foot yacht. You'd be like, oh, $10 million. That's crazy. Like that $10 million yacht, when it's being built, there there are carpenters, electricians, welders, fiberglass guys. There's every trade imaginable associated with the building of that yacht. So that's a microcosm of its own little economy right there. Then the boat sells, and there's salespeople, there's closing agents, there's customs agents, there's a whole nother separate entity and offshoot. Then there's the support of that yacht, the crew, the maintenance, and all those tradesmen that it takes to support that boat. So each and every one of these boats has a little economy underneath it that employs, like one boat like that employs hundreds of people annually.
And the lifespan of them is
Forever.
really long, because I
Yeah.
mean, boats are a lot like aircraft. You take care of them, they go on for seemingly forever in some cases. But it's almost equal to like the housing market, where you're saying tradespeople coming in to build the house and all of that. You have brokers and real estate agents selling the house, but the thing about a house is generally it doesn't get crewed with manpower
Yeah.
to move it from one place to another, or
Not, it's not sitting in salt water, the most corrosive
right.
water.
Yeah.
It's circulating around you at every second.
It's
And you
kind of
have
mind blowing that how big the economy around these things actually is when you stop and start breaking it down, kind of like you just did. Yeah, and it's a conversation that has now happened 3 times this week with other people. And it is fascinating to me how diverse and big the economy around these vessels is. So, Yeah, so maybe you can touch on well, why don't we talk about being a number one yacht broker for 5 years in a row in Fort Lauderdale? Why don't you give me a bit of an idea of what you're? I know I'm trying to make you humble here, but uh,
There's, I'm in the yachting capital of the world in Fort Lauderdale, right? You can't throw a rock without hitting a dozen yacht brokers.
yeah,
Um, so being voted number one yacht broker in Fort Lauderdale from Fort Lauderdale Magazine. Listen, that's a very subjective thing, right? Obviously, I have um, very loyal clients, people that appreciate what I do for them and the memories we kind of make together, and they support me. And I got voted that. They're like, there's guys down here that sell much bigger boats than I do, make a ton more money than I do. So like a number one ranking is cool and I appreciate it, but like there's no real like I didn't win the Super Bowl of yacht brokers. It's
that's fair. So,
yeah.
well, why don't you talk to me a little bit more than about what you just touched on with like your relationships and your marketing strategy and how you build your network and how do you do what you do?
So I need a lot of support, right? So it starts with a passion for boats, which we share. And, I couldn't sell houses. I couldn't sell cars. Like, I'm a boat guy. I grew up in the boatyard. I love boats. All I know is boats. So you take that knowledge and, like my dad said back in the day, it was find what you love to do and then try to make a living doing it. And that's pretty much what I do. Um, but the support network around me, at HMY, we're um, a family-owned company, which is rare these days for anything in the marine business to still be family-owned. Our founder, Steve Moynihan, started this company with two partners back in the 70s. Uh, and now he's the sole owner, and the Moynihan family owns HMY. So, we have brick and mortar, we have ultra premium brands, right? So I'm fortunate enough to be a Viking dealer. So in the sport fish world, Viking is the king of it, and we're dealers for Viking. So I have that resource. We're princess dealers. So I have, an ultra premium branded European motor yacht at my disposal to sell to my new customers. So um, I have an assistant, I have an office, I have a support network of product and people that, you know, help prop me up and give me the tools to succeed. Right. And then it's up to me. How hard do you want to work? You
Right.
know, I'm texting underneath the table on Thanksgiving Day. I'm answering the phone at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. My wife gets it. She
Yeah.
knows, I need to find balance there at some point, but I've gotten to the point where I am by being there for my people and
Right.
and outworking everyone around me.
Yeah. So would you say that a big part of your marketing is being part of HMY and maybe you can give me a sense of how big they are in the area that you're in. But is it are you leaning more on their website and the MLS or are you doing outreach and doing marketing just on your own? Like, can you give me a sense of how that
Sure,
works?
sure. I mean, I mess around with social media just like anyone. I do really good quality, like yacht videos, drone footage, virtual walkthrough.
Oh,
I
I just lost your audio there for a minute. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, you just got real quiet all of a sudden. I can hear you, but it's real quiet. Did something cover your mic all of a sudden?
No, no, I got
There,
this stage.
there. That's better.
Back, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's back. So
I mean,
sorry to cut you off.
no problem. I'll repeat what I was saying. I do, obviously I mess around with social media like everybody. Um, I do really good quality like videos. I hire professional drone video operators. I did on camera walkthroughs. My marketing department can support that. I'll pay for it out of my own pocket to get the quality that I want.
Sorry, Mike. I can hear what you're saying, but just barely. Something's going on with your mic all of a sudden. Where I'm having a real hard time hearing you. Just got real quiet.
Well, nothing's changed on my end.
Well, I can't hear you at all now. Something's glitching out. Hey, technology, man. We're slaves to all. We're all slaves to it. I don't know. It was working just fine, and then all of a sudden, your audio kind of started getting quieter and quieter. But I'll give you a minute to.
Yeah, nothing, nothing's better there. It's still,
I can. Oh no, I can hear you really good now. Whatever you were, maybe you just covered a microphone got covered or something. I'm not sure.
yeah, I'll try to speak a little bit louder.
Oh, that it's good there now. So yeah, so you were saying you hire professionals and you do high quality video work to for all of your postings and all of that. Um,
Yeah, you got to provide good quality content.
yeah,
And I'm fortunate enough that HMY has, as the largest family-owned boat dealer in the world, right? So I have, an entire marketing department and a lot of resources at my disposal. They support me. So it's not just who I can reach out and touch, it's who HMY. So it expands um, my footprint and my marketing reach really globally because a lot of the boats that I deal with are, will be desirable on an international platform.
right. But so you kind of answered my question there in a roundabout way, as what I was getting at was, um, I guess you do kind of lean fairly heavily on the resources that you do have through HMY and their marketing department and all of the reach that they have just through the company themselves. I spoke to a young fellow who's just been in the game for a couple of years now, and the difference between him and you is that you have this network of people that are very likely a lot of return customers. You've built trust with them. Compared to someone who's brand new like him, he's trying to go out and reach people and connect with people by walking around the marina, reaching out on Facebook, wherever he can. And I'm sure at some point early on you were at that stage too, right?
Yeah, been there, done that. Um, and glad I am where I am now, and I'm not trying to break into this business, but at this stage.
Yeah.
Such a competitive environment. Everyone wants to sell. Captain wants to sell boats on the side, and yacht management people want to get their toes. You got to be all in. Uh, when I made the move, I hung up my captain's hat because I didn't want a pretty good captain and a pretty good sales professional.
Well,
I wanted to be the best sales professional, and give it 100%. So it's hard. It's hard when you're like a one-man band trying to make things work. So yeah, I do appreciate the support I get from the company. I like having new boat brands. I've always been associated with premium product. That's been part of my plan. That's by design.
mm-hmm.
And then they can help market me, and I can be out, getting more customers, making more deals, selling boats, doing what I do best. I don't have a degree in marketing. I'm not a social media whiz. I do enough. I do what I can, but I'll rely on other professionals around me to help prop me up.
That's
And
cool that you have those resources. But I mean, you've been around and you've worked your way into this position to be
sure.
able to utilize those resources through a larger company. And are you aware of maybe what the marketing department is doing, or is that kind of like, hey, just let those guys do their thing? They know what they're doing, and leave it at that. Like, are you aware of how much they're tapping into new technologies within the marketing space? AI and all of those things.
Yeah, it's a change. We're at a crossroads, and there's definitely like the AI revolution, if you will, is currently changing the game in how people search, how people find you. So,
Also,
um,
how people interact with you too. I mean, it's starting to, me and Andrew Troyer were yesterday yapping about the ability for AI now to answer your phones for you. You can clone your voice and your personality, and a robot will speak just like you for you with your voice. And some people might think that's great, and we both agreed that, like, in sales, that's I don't think that that's appropriate for a job that you're in, is in sales. It might work for certain things within sales, but maybe as a receptionist answering phones for people to direct the person to the right place. But I believe you're in an industry that requires a lot of trust, and to speak with someone directly on the phone is essential, and AI is not going to take that over, at least not yet. I mean, it's getting good, but it's still not capable of doing what you do, and AI is not going to be able to go meet people in person either, right? So
hopefully I'm over and done before, fully AI automated sales processes take over the world, and
right,
you
robot yacht brokers down at the marina.
uh, for me to do what I do, like, I know guys that I'm kind of weird. I'm in the middle age wise, where I'm not one of the old dogs, but I'm not a young gun either. I got a bit more of a runway here ahead of me, but for me to be successful and do what I do, I need to stay true to, like, personal relationships. That's what sells. I mean, having the knowledge, having the experience, and having the personal relationships, that's what has gotten me to this point, and that's what will help me cross the finish line successfully. I'm married with 3 daughters. I got to provide for them and, retire at some point, but I'll probably be selling boats until until the very end. And,
So, um, maybe you can give me a bit of insight from your perspective. Location obviously matters when you're in sales like this specifically, because certain markets you have a very much a seasonal market, and then I'm assuming down in Fort Lauderdale there might be some seasonal aspect to it, but boats are going year round. Maybe you can give me a bit of insight as to what you've seen over the last few years as far as the market, and where it's been, where it's kind of at now, maybe where you think it's going. And I'll kind of, I've been hearing that during COVID, sales tended to ramp up heavily, and now they're coming back to more of a stable place. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
yeah, that's pretty accurate. I would say, let's start, like, the onset of COVID, like the word COVID. There was, like, you know, maybe a 30-day panic period where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back to driving boats because, a global pandemic, nobody's going to buy boats. This is crazy. And what happened was the exact opposite. It was a rocket ship ride to the moon for, a couple years there, where if people were going to social distance and people were going to, you know, adhere to, like, COVID protocols or whatnot, and they were boaters, if they were boaters, like, oh, if I'm gonna, I'll social distance on my boat. In fact, I'll do that with my whole family, and I need a bigger boat. And if they weren't into boating, it was, oh, maybe I'll buy a boat, and that will be a good way to, you know, go through this whole COVID protocol with a family-friendly boating environment. So sales went crazy during COVID. There was a whole
RVs did the same thing. The RV sales went through the roof
yep,
as well. I mean,
where
people were buying like crazy just to get away, get out in the woods with their family and be isolated somewhere where they
back
could actually enjoy themselves.
pool installations, home remodeling, backyard redevelopment, like, those were all other little things that, you know, where people put their money into to weather that storm, if you will.
Right.
Um, so, um,
Now you're
yeah,
finding it's kind of coming back down to where it should be and kind of leveling out. Has that just happened recently, or is it kind of did that happen a couple of years ago?
yeah, I would say the year, like, COVID kind of dissipates. The year after COVID, boating wise, maybe last year, or maybe the year before, we kind of had a bit of like a COVID hangover. You know, things were sluggish. The market became flooded with specifically like entry level boats, like those people that jumped in that didn't know boating, that bought, center console boats for their family. You know, they used it, they used it busy for that year. Then it came time to service the boat, and it was, oh man, this is expensive. Like, I hardly use this thing. Like, I better sell it. So then the market kind of became flooded with different opportunities in different market segments, bit of a sluggish hangover. Now we're in a spot where we're kind of fought through that hangover. Things have kind of stabilized to a pre-COVID level. Not fully back in different market segments. I would say like ultra premium branded product is still king and scarce. So good, clean, pre-owned boats, those will sell. And they'll sell relatively quickly for relatively strong money. The cost of new boat manufacturing has escalated to such a degree that, the 2-year-old boat that has a little bit of a gremlins worked out and is $1 million less than a new boat, like, hey, that's perceived in my world as value. So
Right.
I can go after those. Last year happened to be like my best year ever. And this year's good. And I see things kind of stabilizing and, growing moving forward. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic overall.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that little bit of insight. It seems to be a common thing that I'm getting across the board talking to people that are in the game. I do have to ask this. So you kind of keep touching on the whole fishing thing, like fishing was your passion. Would you say that those are your favorite boats, or is there something another type of boat that is kind of? I usually save this for the end, but I need to ask you now. What, like?
Well, cool. So I have a pretty broad stroke, right? So growing up in the boat business, being a captain for large motor yachts and working for a yacht manufacturer, but at my core, I was never like the professional fisherman that I thought I wanted to be. So I never got to that level, but that passion hasn't dissipated, right? So at being a Viking dealer, I sell a lot of Vikings, and I get out on some fish boats. I'm fortunate enough to share some pretty unique fishing adventures with my clients, a lot of which have become friends. So, I'll tuna fish in the Northeast and Massachusetts with my connections and my roots up there. I'll marlin fish in the Bahamas with my connections down here. I have a boat. I have a 28-foot Mako, an old school Mako that I restored, that I'll mahi fish for fun with my family, with my girls. I love fishing with my kids. So I satisfy my fishing bug quite well. I would like to fish more, but I got to work too. So,
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah, there's the Viking brand is special, and the Cabo brand is special. So there was one point where I was the number one Cabo dealer in the world. I was the number one Cabo salesperson in the world. And now I sell more pre-owned Cabos than anybody. So I do a lot of like new Vikings, pre-owned Cabos, and that's my kind of sport fish niche with some custom stuff branched off of that. But the motor yacht market seems to be more of like the growth market. The sport fish guys, there's more people getting on the water to cruise than there are getting on the water to fish. So fortunately for me, I can speak intelligently about both worlds. I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I'm very well diversified.
I guess it was more of a personal question. I just was wondering. You seem like you'd rather be on the fishing boat than out.
I will get most excited, and my passion will really come through. When I start talking about fishing boats.
Fair enough. That's kind of what I was getting at.
No question.
Say that again.
No question about it.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, you kind of cut out there. I didn't hear what you had said. So, um, if you were to start over again here, like I was talking to that new broker the other day, been in it for a couple of years. If you were to have to start over again, what advice do you think you would give yourself beginning again as a new broker into the game?
I would have to say, it's kind of the stuff that made me successful, but like good advice that I got when I was breaking in, you know, um, be the first one in and the last one to leave. You know, you when your customers need you, like you need to be there. This isn't a 9 to 5 job. This is 24/7, 365. Um, and one of the probably most important things that maybe new guys or somebody that's not as boat set, like you need to make yourself invaluable, right? Like when your customer has an engine problem, a generator problem, you need to know the right people. You need to have the resources to help them and bring value. Like I don't just sell people their boat, throw them the keys and all right, hey, call me when you want a bigger boat. Like I take on a special relationship where like, I'm there for them and I've been, in the bilges in the middle of tournaments or fishing or cruising with my people where like I got to go get dirty to get us out of a situation. So for a young guy who's starting out, like you need to not be afraid to get dirty and you need to be ready to outwork everybody around you because nothing is going to replace, hard work. No AI system, no search engine, like will replace like the
Right.
grind of sales.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, that's some solid advice. Um, just a couple more real quick questions here. Maybe you can touch a little bit, just to kind of expand on a little bit more about what HMY Yachts is all about. I see that you're obviously in sales and you're a brokerage. You do charters as well, correct?
We have a charter division. Yep, I have um, one of my best customers and best friends who came through the business really has like our flagship charter boat in our charter fleet is 116 footer called tail lights. So we have charter. We have service to support our new boat customers. We're not a retail service provider. Our service people are there to support our new boat brands like warranty service providers. We have outboard lots where we have outboard brands and captains, and we have
So you do support with crew and supplying of maybe not directly, but you're connected with the companies that do.
yeah, yeah, that's more of like a personal thing. We don't have like a crew department, or we're not a staffing agency or crew network. That's more of an individual relationship thing. So I recommend captains and crew all the time.
Right.
uh, but you have to have a pretty tight, pretty vetted network to put your reputation on the line to recommend somebody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Does HMY does the company own the charters, or those are owned by individuals, and then you guys are just connected with them?
Yeah, owned by individuals. We represent it in the charter market, just like I do the sales brokerage. We have charter representatives. Our charter department is awesome. Susan is fantastic. Um, yeah, and HMY is a different environment where, you know, we, it's a family-owned company. So
Yeah.
coming from the family boat business and growing up in the family boat business, I've always kind of gravitated towards, boating to me is all about family and memories, and that comes
Yeah.
through in HMY. When you buy a boat from HMY, like, it may sound corny, but you become part of the extended HMY family. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. I'm kind of
Yeah.
it's a trend across, I think, any larger brokerage. I mean, whether family run or not, it really comes down, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just that trust thing. And when you're spending the amount of money to purchase a vessel of certain sizes, any size, to be honest, I guess, realistically, depending on who you are.
It's funny to say that because real quick, like the guys buying 35, it's just as important a process and a big purchase for the 35-foot guy as it is for the 35-meter guy. I mean, it's a big deal, and it's just relative to your situation, but they're all big deals.
Yeah. Right on. Awesome, Mike. It's been really good talking with you. I appreciate your time. I know we kind of went a little bit longer than we had kind of planned for here, and hopefully I'm not taking you away from anything else. But just to wrap up, one last question. It's something fun I've been asking. I kind of touched on your favorite boat, so why don't I ask you the other half of the question I generally ask is there a specific location that you've been aboard a vessel that you love more than any place? And I'll just leave that as an open question. Is it your favorite place to sail or motor to?
Yeah, so I've been pretty spoiled. I've seen some pretty unique, Virgin Islands, the whole Caribbean, the Bahamas, Costa Rica, Panama. Never been over to Europe or like South Pacific, but it's hard to beat the Exumas, the island chain of the Exumas in the Bahamas. That's the prettiest water in the world. I'll put it up against anything. Really, really unique place, and it's off the beaten path in the Bahamas. But I think if I had to pick anywhere, I would pick the Exumas in the Bahamas.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. And again, I appreciate your time hanging out with me here and discussing everything that we've been talking about and sharing your insights and your experience and all of that. Is there anywhere before we sign off here you want to send people? I mean, HMY Yachts.com obviously is a prime one, but do you have any social channels, YouTube channels, anything you want to share to send people to?
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is a pretty good follow. M Scalisi Yachts on Instagram. I put my yacht videos up there. Facebook as well. I'm not. I do have a YouTube channel. I probably need to step up my game there. But my social media stuff is pretty active and pretty engaging. Follow my travels, follow my sales.
What's your YouTube channel since you brought it up?
I think it's M Scalisi Yachts.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed to even say.
Well, I'm going to track you down. I'll put it in the show notes in the bottom here when it's published. But yeah, man,
I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I always answer my phone and would love to engage on any of those platforms.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate your time. You took out of your day here to meet with me here. I'm sure you're going to be flat out busy. Probably already starting to get busy with the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show coming up next week. And yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on here and spending some time with me.
My pleasure. Lauderdale Boat Show is definitely our industry Super Bowl, and I'll be there working a 34-meter Benetti called King's Lair. At Pier 66. It's my largest listing to date, asking a mere $18 million. Could probably give you a little bit of break if you're interested on that one. But yeah, it's looking forward to the Lauderdale Boat Show. It never disappoints.
Right on. Okay, man. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the boat show, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate your time. Anytime. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
Great. Bye-bye.
Thanks for sailing with us. This has been Portside Perspectives.